I couldn't feel my legs. The anesthesia was still wearing off from the 11-hour emergency appendectomy that had gone sideways, turning into major abdominal surgery. My phone was buzzing nonstop on the hospital tray beside me, but I couldn't reach it. The nurses had taken it away during pre-op, and now, 3 days later, someone had finally returned it. 89 missed calls, 63 text messages, 12 voicemails. My hands were shaking as I unlocked the screen. The first voicemail was from my father, time-stamped at 2:47 p.m. on the day of my surgery. "Stephanie, it's Dad. We need to talk about the Toronto property. Call me back immediately." I felt cold. The Toronto property, my investment condo. The one I'd saved for since I was 19 years old. The one that took me 9 years of working 2 jobs, skipping vacations, buying secondhand everything, and eating ramen 4 nights a week to afford. My 950 square foot sanctuary in downtown Toronto that I'd purchased at 28 for $380,000. The second voicemail made my stomach drop. "Stephanie, this is getting ridiculous. You can't ignore us forever. We've made our decision. Your brother needs this money for his practice, and you're being selfish. We're your parents. We know what's best for the family." My brother. Of course, 25-year-old Derek, the golden child, who'd just graduated from dental school and wanted to open his own practice in Vancouver. The one who'd never worked a day through university because Mom and Dad paid for everything. The one who'd gotten a brand new Audi for his graduation, while I got a card that said, "Proud of you," when I finished my engineering degree. The third voicemail was from my mother, and her voice was cheerful. Too cheerful. "Sweetheart, don't be upset. We did what we had to do. The condo sold for $395,000, and after we paid off some family debts, we were able to give Derek $180,000 for his practice. He's so grateful. You'll understand when you're feeling better. You're young, you can always buy another place. Derek needs this now. Oh, and your aunt says you left some boxes in the unit? We donated everything to Goodwill. You won't be needing it anymore. Love you." I couldn't breathe. The room was spinning. They sold my condo, while I was unconscious on an operating table, fighting sepsis. They sold my home. 9 years of my life. $380,000. Gone. I pressed the call button for the nurse. When she came in, I could barely speak. "I need my lawyer," I whispered. "Please. I need to call my lawyer right now. Let me take you back 4 months to understand how it got to this point. When I bought my condo at 28, my father's first words weren't congratulations. They were, that money could have helped Derek with his student loans." I was at a family dinner, excited to share my news. I'd been hunting for 2 years, saving every penny from my job as a structural engineer at a firm in Toronto. I'd finally found the perfect place, a corner unit with massive windows, exposed brick, and a view of the CN Tower. It was everything I'd dreamed of. "Dad, I worked hard for this," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "This is my investment. My future." "Your future?" My mother set down her wine glass. "Your brother is your future. Family is your future. When Derek succeeds, we all succeed." "But I succeeded too," I said quietly. "I bought a home in one of the most expensive cities in Canada. That's an accomplishment." My brother didn't even look up from his phone. "Nobody asked you to do that, Steph. You could have rented and helped the family. But you always have to be different." I should have seen it then. The way they looked at my condo, not as my achievement, but as family money that I was hoarding. The way every family gathering included comments about how lucky I was to have extra money when Derek was struggling with his student loans. Never mind that I'd taken out loans too and paid them off by working 60-hour weeks. 3 months ago, Derek announced he wanted to open his practice. Not work for an established dentist, not build up experience. No, he wanted his own place immediately, in a prime Vancouver location. The estimated cost? $200,000 for equipment, renovations, and startup costs. "We'll all chip in," my father announced at Sunday dinner. "It's a family investment." "I can't afford to chip in," I said. "I'm saving for renovations on my place, and I'm hoping to..." You own property, my mother interrupted. You can take out a loan against it. Absolutely not. That's my home. Stephanie, don't be selfish, Derek said, finally looking at me. This is my dream. You already have yours. I worked for mine. You can work for yours. The table went silent. My father's face turned red. After everything we've done for you, he said slowly. All those years we raised you, fed you, housed you. You stopped housing me when I turned 18, I said. You told me to get out and make my own way, which I did. Derek lived at home until he was 24. That's different, my mother snapped. He was in school. So was I. I worked full-time and went to school full-time. Nobody offered to let me stay. I left that dinner early. I should have known then that something was wrong. The way my father asked for my address for insurance purposes. The way my mother asked if I'd updated my emergency contacts. The way Derek asked if I had my deed in a safe place. 2 months ago, I started having severe abdominal pain. I ignored it, thinking it was stress. When I finally went to the emergency room, they admitted me immediately. My appendix had ruptured, and I had developed sepsis. The surgery that should have taken 2 hours turned into 11 hours as they fought to control the infection and repair the damage. I was unconscious for 3 days in the ICU. That's when they did it. Now, lying in that hospital bed, I called the only person I trusted, my lawyer, Patricia Chen. I'd worked with her when I bought the condo. She answered on the second ring. Stephanie, I heard you were in the hospital. How are you? Patricia, they sold my condo. My voice broke. My parents, they sold it. While I was in surgery. Silence. Then, that's impossible. They would have needed your signature, your presence at the closing. They did it anyway. I have a voicemail from my mother saying they sold it for $395,000 and gave most of the money to my brother. I'm coming to the hospital right now. Don't talk to anyone. Don't call your parents back. I'm bringing everything we need. Patricia arrived within an hour, her briefcase full of documents. She sat beside my bed, her expression grave as she pulled out papers. Stephanie, I need you to look at these. She spread out several documents on my bed tray. These are supposedly your signatures on the sale documents. The real estate office sent these to me this morning because I was listed as your lawyer of record, and they wanted to confirm the legitimacy. I stared at the signatures. They looked like mine, but they weren't. I didn't sign these. I was unconscious. I was in the ICU. I know. Patricia's voice was hard. I already pulled your medical records with your permission form. You were under anesthesia from 9 a.m. on August 15th until August 18th. These documents are dated and notarized on August 16th at 2 p.m. You were literally on a ventilator. How is this possible? Forgery. Identity theft. Real estate fraud. Patricia ticked them off on her fingers. Your parents committed multiple felonies. The question is, how did they get access to your documents? Then I remembered. 6 months ago, my mother had asked to borrow my passport for family tree research. She said she wanted to verify some dates. Like an idiot, I'd let her make a copy. She must have copied everything: my driver's license, my deed, my identification. Patricia, what can we do? They already sold it. The money's gone. Not necessarily. She leaned forward. First, we file a police report. This is criminal. Second, we file an emergency injunction to freeze all of your parents' assets. Third, we contest the sale. If we can prove you didn't sign, and we can, with medical records and forensic signature analysis, the sale can be voided. But what about the buyers? They're innocent. They'll be compensated, but their purchase will be invalidated. They'll get their money back from the title insurance company, and the title company will sue your parents for fraud. This is going to get very ugly, Stephanie. Are you prepared for that? I thought about 9 years of my life. Every late night, every missed concert, every vacation I didn't take. Every time I said no to drinks with friends because I was saving. Every winter coat I wore until it had holes. Every decision I made to build something for myself. Yes, I said. I'm prepared. The next week was a blur. I was released from the hospital, but I had nowhere to go. My condo was sold, and everything I owned had been donated according to my mother. I stayed with my colleague, Jennifer, who lived in North York. Patricia moved fast. We filed the police report, and 2 detectives came to Jennifer's apartment to interview me. They were thorough, professional, and angry on my behalf. "This is one of the most blatant cases of family fraud we've seen," Detective Morrison said. "Your parents didn't even try to hide it. They called you repeatedly, left voicemails admitting to everything. They've essentially confessed." "What happens now?" I asked. "We investigate, we build a case, and we recommend charges. The Crown will decide whether to prosecute. But based on what we have, this is going to trial." Patricia filed the emergency injunction, and within 48 hours, a judge froze my parents' assets. Their bank accounts, their credit cards, everything. They couldn't access anything until the investigation was complete. My phone started ringing again. This time, I answered. "What the hell did you do?" my father shouted. "The police came to our house. Our accounts are frozen. You're destroying this family." "You sold my home while I was dying on an operating table," I said calmly. "You committed fraud. You stole $395,000 from me. You deserve everything that's happening. We're your parents. We raised you. You owe us." "I don't owe you a felony's worth of debt, Dad. That's not how parenting works." He hung up on me. My mother called next, crying. "Stephanie, please. Derek's practice is opening next month. He's already signed the lease. He needs this money. You're ruining his life." "No, Mom. You ruined his life by teaching him that stealing is acceptable if it's from family. You ruined all our lives by doing this. He's your brother, and I'm your daughter. Did that matter when you forged my signature? When you sold my home? When you threw away everything I owned?" She didn't have an answer for that. Then came the discovery that changed everything. Patricia called me 3 weeks after we filed the injunction. Her voice was strange, excited but cautious. "Stephanie, I need you to come to my office. Now. I found something." I took the subway downtown, my stomach in knots. "What now?" Patricia's office was in a glass tower near the waterfront. When I arrived, she had documents spread across her massive desk, and she was smiling. "Remember when I pulled all the records for your condo purchase?" she said. "I went back further to see if your parents had any legal interest in the property, any co-signing, any documentation that might explain how they thought they had the right. And I found something better." She pushed a document toward me. "Do you remember your grandmother? Your mother's mother, Eleanor?" "Of course. She died 8 years ago. I loved her. She loved you too. Look at this." It was a will. My grandmother's will. But I'd never seen it before. "I don't understand. What am I looking at?" Patricia pointed to a section highlighted in yellow. "Your grandmother owned the house your parents live in, the 4-bedroom in Oakville. She never sold it to them. They've been living there under what they thought was an informal family arrangement. But according to this will, which was properly filed and executed, she left that house to you." I stared at the document. The words didn't make sense. "She left me." "The house? The house my parents live in?" "Yes. The house is worth approximately $890,000 based on current market values. Your parents have been living there for free for 8 years, believing they owned it. But they don't. You do. You always have. Your grandmother stipulated that they could live there as long as they respected family bonds and treated all children fairly. I think we can argue they violated those terms." I sat down hard in the leather chair. "Why didn't anyone tell me?" "Your grandmother's lawyer retired and sold his practice. The files were transferred but not actively managed. Your parents were supposed to disclose this to you when you turned 25, according to the will's terms. They never did. They've been living in my house for 8 years, while telling me I was selfish for buying my own place, while demanding I give them money, while they committed fraud against me." "Yes." Patricia's smile was sharp. "And now we have leverage. Significant leverage." The forensic signature analysis came back conclusive. The signatures on the sale documents were forged. The Crown attorney decided to prosecute. My parents were charged with identity theft, forgery, and real estate fraud, all felonies in Canada. The buyers of my condo were understandably upset, but the title insurance handled it. The sale was voided. My condo was legally mine again, though it had been empty for 2 months, and I'd have to deal with the mess of re-establishing possession. But first, I had something else to do. Derek's practice was opening in 3 weeks. He'd sent out invitations to a grand opening party, a celebration of his dream coming true. The invitation arrived at Jennifer's place, forwarded from my old address. Dr. Derek Morrison's Smile Studio, grand opening celebration. Join us for an evening of champagne and celebration. Patricia looked at the invitation and raised an eyebrow. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? Oh, I'm definitely thinking what you're thinking. We planned carefully. I RSVP'd yes, +1. I told no one I was coming. My parents hadn't tried to contact me since the charges were filed. Their lawyer had advised them not to. The grand opening was at Derek's new practice in Vancouver. I flew out with Patricia, and we arrived at the sleek, modern office in Yaletown. Derek had spared no expense: glass walls, designer furniture, top-of-the-line equipment, all paid for with money stolen from me. The party was in full swing when we arrived. About 60 people, friends, family, colleagues from dental school. Derek was holding court in the center, wearing an expensive suit, laughing loudly. My parents stood beside him, beaming with pride. I waited until Derek clinked his glass to make a toast. The room fell silent. "Thank you all for coming," he said, his voice warm and confident. "This has been a dream of mine since I was young, and I couldn't have done it without the support of my incredible parents, who believed in me and invested in this practice." "With stolen money," I said clearly from the back of the room. Every head turned. My brother's face went white. "Stephanie," my mother breathed, "what are you doing here?" I walked forward, Patricia beside me. The crowd parted like I was carrying a bomb. "I'm here to inform everyone that this practice was funded with $180,000 stolen from me through real estate fraud," I said calmly. "My parents forged my signature and sold my condo while I was unconscious in the ICU, fighting for my life. They then gave the proceeds to my brother to fund this practice. They've been charged with multiple felonies by the Crown." The silence was deafening. "That's not," Derek started, but I cut him off. "I have the court documents here." Patricia held up a folder. "Everything's public record. The sale has been voided, and criminal charges are pending. The money that funded this practice was obtained through fraud." "Get out," my father said, his voice shaking with rage. "You're insane. You're making this up because you're jealous." "I'm also here to discuss another matter," I continued. "The house you've been living in for 8 years? In Oakville? The one you thought you owned?" My mother's face changed. She knew. "That house was left to me by Grandma Eleanor when I was 20 years old. You were supposed to tell me when I turned 25. You never did. You've been living in my house, rent-free, for 8 years while telling me I was selfish for wanting my own place." The room erupted in whispers. Derek looked between me and our parents, confused. "I've filed for immediate possession," I said. "You have 30 days to vacate. If you don't, I'll pursue formal eviction proceedings. The house is worth $890,000. 8 years of fair market rent, which you never paid, comes to approximately $180,000. I smiled. "The exact amount you stole from me. Funny how that works out." "You can't do this," my mother whispered. "We're your family." "You should have remembered that before you committed fraud," I said. "Patricia?" Patricia stepped forward and handed envelopes to my parents and Derek. "You're all being sued in civil court for the full amount of damages, including lost rent, emotional distress, legal fees, and the cost of recovering the condo. The total claim is $650,000. The court date is September 15th. I looked at Derek, who was standing frozen, his champagne glass hanging limply in his hand. "You wanted this practice so badly," I said softly. "Did you know how they got the money? Did you ask?" They said you agreed," he said weakly. They said it was a family investment. I was unconscious, Derek. I was dying. And they stole from me to give to you. You're not the victim here. I turned to leave, and then I paused. Oh, and Derek? You might want to talk to a lawyer. If the Crown can prove you knew the money was obtained fraudulently, you could be charged with receiving stolen property. Just something to think about. Patricia and I walked out into the Vancouver evening. Behind us, I could hear shouting, crying, and the sound of a party dying a swift death. How do you feel? Patricia asked. Honestly, exhausted, but also free. The legal process took 6 months. My parents pleaded guilty to reduced charges in exchange for testifying that Derek had no knowledge of the fraud. They received 18 months of probation, 500 hours of community service, and were ordered to pay full restitution $395,000 plus interest and legal fees. They couldn't pay it, of course. They had no assets except their belongings, so the court attached their income. Every paycheck, garnished. They'd be paying me back for years. I sold the house in Oakville for $890,000. Part of me wanted to keep it out of spite, but I didn't need it. What I needed was closure. I used part of the money to completely renovate my Toronto condo, new kitchen, new floors, new everything. I wanted it to feel like mine again, not tainted by what happened. With the rest, I did something my grandmother would have loved. I established a fund through the Canadian Bar Association for young people dealing with family financial fraud. It provides free legal services and support for victims who can't afford lawyers. It's called the Eleanor Morrison Justice Fund. I named it after my grandmother, who apparently knew something about my parents that I didn't see until it was almost too late. Derek's practice survived, barely. He had to take out massive loans to keep it running once the truth came out, and several investors pulled their money. We haven't spoken since that night in Vancouver. I heard through mutual friends that he's struggling, working 7 days a week to keep the practice afloat and pay off the loans. Part of me feels sorry for him, part of me doesn't. My parents tried to reach out once, about a year later. A letter arrived at my condo. Dear Stephanie, we know we made mistakes. We thought we were helping the family. We never meant to hurt you. Can we meet and talk about reconciliation? Love, Mom and Dad. I threw it away. Some people asked if I felt guilty, if I thought I went too far, if maybe I should have just let it go, moved on, kept the peace for the sake of family. Here's what I learned through all of this. Family doesn't mean unconditional forgiveness for betrayal. It doesn't mean letting people hurt you because you share DNA. It doesn't mean being the bigger person when someone commits crimes against you. Real family, the kind worth having, respects you, celebrates your achievements instead of resenting them, would never, ever forge your signature and sell your home while you're fighting for your life in a hospital. I'm 29 now. I live in my renovated condo with a rescue dog named Justice because I have a sense of humor about these things. I'm dating someone wonderful who comes from a family that actually likes each other. I'm being considered for a promotion to senior engineer. And every month, I receive a small check from my parents' garnished wages. I donate it directly to the Eleanor Morrison Justice Fund. My grandmother left me more than a house. She left me a lesson. Sometimes the people who are supposed to protect you are the ones you need protection from, and she left me the means to protect myself. The last time I drove past the Oakville house, there was a young couple moving in with a toddler. I'd sold it to them below market value because they reminded me of myself at that age, working hard, excited about their first real home, building something together. I didn't tell them the full story. But I did tell them this. Take care of this house. Someone who loved me very much wanted it to shelter people who understood the value of hard work and family done right. I think that's you. The woman teared up and hugged me. We'll take care of it, she promised. And I believed her. As I drove back to Toronto, I thought about everything I'd lost and everything I'd gained. Yes, I lost 2 years of peace. Yes, I lost the naive belief that my parents loved me unconditionally. Yes, I lost a relationship with my brother, but I gained something more valuable. I gained myself back. The knowledge that I could survive the worst betrayal and come out stronger. The certainty that I deserved better than what I'd accepted for so long. The freedom to build a family of choice, not obligation. People talk about forgiveness like it's always the answer, like you're not complete until you forgive those who hurt you. But sometimes forgiveness isn't about them, it's about you. And sometimes, the most loving thing you can do for yourself is to walk away and never look back. I forgave myself for trusting them, for not seeing it coming, for believing that blood meant something it didn't. That was enough. If you're reading this, and you're in a similar situation, if your family is pressuring you to sacrifice yourself for someone else, if they're gaslighting you about your achievements, if they're making you feel guilty for having boundaries, I want you to know this. You don't owe anyone your dreams. Not your parents, not your siblings, not anyone. Document everything. Save every text, every email, every voicemail. You think you'll never need it, but if things go wrong, that evidence could save you. Get a good lawyer. Not a family friend, not someone who's known your parents for years, someone who works for you and only you. Set up protections. Put your important documents in a safety deposit box that only you can access. Set up alerts on your credit. Monitor your accounts. Check your property records annually. These aren't signs that you don't trust people, they're signs that you're smart. And if the worst happens, if someone you love betrays you in a way you never thought possible, remember, their choices are not your failure. You are not required to set yourself on fire to keep someone else warm. Choose yourself. Every single time. I did, and I'm happier now than I ever was trying to earn love from people who saw me as a resource instead of a daughter. My name is Stephanie Morrison. I'm 29 years old, and I own a condo in Toronto that nobody can ever take from me again. That's my story. That's my truth. And I'm finally free.